Hi, I'm Marilyn Palmer.
And I am Amber Graham.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. People probably recognize me, hopefully still from LinkedIn and marketing. But today I'm going to be talking to Amber about a woman's story. And I'm so appreciative of you coming on to discuss a woman's story with me. And if you don't know what a woman's story is, I started this out of a sincere passion for women that are, struggling to make a life for themselves, whether it's through adversity like poverty or abuse or anything else. These women, like Amber, have experienced some sort of trauma and have made it through and are helping other people and women to get through all of this. Just the legalese. We are not lawyers. We are not psychoanalysts. We are not psychotherapists. We are not involved in any way, shape, or form with a woman's shelter. If you need that, please call your local emergency number or your 188 or 1-800 or 1877 numbers, and please get the help you so richly desire. We're just doing this to make sure that people don't forget that this is going on. And I know it was International Women's Day, but it happens all the time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So without further ado, Amber, you were going to talk about human trafficking. Ooh. And again, if anybody's going to have triggers, please go no further than this portion of the video. There are no geographic boundaries when it comes to human trafficking. You told me that solving this complex problem begins with awareness, and you gave me some red flags and you gave me high risk factors. Let's go through the red flags.
All right. So some of the red flags um, that occur with this, and this is more towards maybe younger victims, but it can be anybody, are just sudden change in possessions, attire. Their behavior will drastically change. It could be malnourished, from not having the adequate food while they're being trafficked. They're not allowed to talk, to certain people, or just isolation in general because they are being bought by someone. So they're under that person's control. They use more terms common in the sex industry world, sexual situations that, for a younger person that maybe they shouldn't be aware of, they're way more aware of than they should be. If they are in school, just attendance and their behavior, their friend groups, attitude, grades can be a factor in that. For younger kids, it definitely will have frequent runaway episodes as they are, with their traffickers or being bought or sold during those time periods. Self-destructive and risky behavior are always factors in that. Of course, like I mentioned, isolation from friends and family. And they will usually protect their trafficker because they don't know what else to do, usually because they're being threatened in those kind of situations. So they tend to navigate to protecting them because they don't know who else to go to or how to address the situation that they're in.
Now, this happened to your daughter. Am I
Yes,
correct?
it did. Yes, ma'am.
And when I talked to you originally, when you said high risk factors, and I just said to you not even 5 minutes ago, your family doesn't look like it's a high risk factor at all.
Correct. And that's why this kind of situation can happen to anyone, whether you're in a high risk factor or not. These traffickers are out, preying on children and young adults, no matter what kind of situation you may or may not be in.
So let's just go through some of the high risk factors because, we know, but some people do. Unstable home life, low income families, involvement with the juvenile justice system, minimal family support, involvement with CPS. What is that? Child
Yes.
Protection Services, right, sorry.
Yes.
Duh. Anyway, sorry. Substance abuse and low self-worth and self-esteem.
Yes.
Do you think the last one was your daughter's?
I think, really for my daughter, she definitely did have some of the low self-worth and self-esteem. We had, her dad really wasn't present in her life. I had gotten remarried, so she did have him in her life, but she did struggle with some of that. She had changed schools. She did have some anxiety, so I guess that could fall underneath, the mental aspect of mental illness. Um, and she started struggling with the substance abuse after, her first runaway episode. And I think that's because she was kind of with the wrong crowd, and that's kind of what they got into. And she struggled more and more with that as the traffickers would, drug her to get her from one location to another. So then that just became kind of her way of coping and dealing with that. So then that became that high risk factor as it continued to happen for a period of time.
Now, you also told me that they grew, like your daughter was groomed. These
Yes,
traffickers groom. Do they groom them through social media or like school or?
it really, what I have learned through this situation, and through different organizations that I've reached out to for support and help with her, is it can be, at school, it can be really anywhere, but it really, the highest presence is online. Our young children are very involved with social media, Instagram, Snapchat, all of those kind of just social media sites. They get on and they meet people, and these traffickers or predators, they know that. So they're very easily able to reach them. And if they're posting certain things and the kids are posting certain things, they kind of know what they like and what they don't like. So they prey on that as well. They can see kind of what they're going through or not going through, where they live, because our young children post, where they're at all the time. So they kind of know those areas as well, and how to reach the traffic. The traffickers know what areas to go to do that.
There's no elephant in this room between you and me, but there's probably an elephant out there someplace. And, I've watched a big expose in Ontario about human trafficking. And they even said that on this show, there's somebody out there going, well, where are the parents?
Right. And
Being,
I'm very involved in my children's life. So it was something that really struck me by surprise, that this is what happened with her. Um, and the way I found out was just, through her being in counseling. And, she had watched, not watched, but they had a group of ladies come to where she had been staying at in this treatment center, talk about what trafficking is and how the traffickers groom them. And she sat through that presentation and realized, this is what happened to me. And so she went to her counselor afterwards and told her all of that. And they gave me a phone call and let me know, like, your daughter was a victim of this. And that's how my
so they're
eyes were
that
open to it.
smooth. They're that
Yes.
smooth. They're that slick. That,
Yes.
wow.
It's very scary how easily and quickly someone can become a victim of it.
You talked about they brand their property with tattoos.
Yes. I'm My daughter has several tattoos on her that, I'm not going to get into what they are, but
No.
certain tattoos that they placed on her to basically say, you belong to me. And this is how they show that. So it's very sad that they know this and what to look for, and that they would brand, someone in that way.
And not just that is just like horrific. It's 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 could be happening in your own backyard.
And oftentimes it is.
Unbelievable. Now, when your daughter came to the realization that that was me, how can I ask how long it how long she was trafficked for?
It was on and off for probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Jeez.
So, I mean, she would, you know, be trafficked. She'd get out of that situation, and she was in the juvenile justice system at that point in time, just because they didn't. She would get caught with traffickers on drugs or whatever situations were going on with that, and trying to realize that she wasn't a bad child, but bad things were happening to her. You know, there are a lot of people out there who didn't want to believe, I mean, just did not want to believe that's what was going on. So they would label her as something else. So she would be placed in different treatment centers, and, you know, she'd get released from that. She'd get out, and they would reach back out to her, and she would go through that whole cycle again before she'd be back in another treatment center and start getting therapy and counseling again. And so it lasted by a year and a half, 2 years. And she was 15 when it started. So,
Whoa. Now I've heard that can go younger than that too.
yes, one of the organizations that was helping with her said that they have seen victims as young as 11 in their program. So,
Do you now, as a mom, fight for people that have been trafficked to take a look at the core of that instead of saying, oh, well, you know, she was caught with drugs and she's a substance abuser, and okay, well, just put her in a rehab center and, you know, good luck. See you later.
absolutely. Yes. Going through this situation, because, you know, before this happened to her, of course, trafficking was just something you'd hear about, and I thought it was something that happened overseas and definitely not right around the corner from where I live, or that it would ever happen, you know, to me or my child. So now that she has gone through that, and I know how common and easily it is to do that, I have a huge passion, not just to let parents know, hey, these are signs, these are red flags, you might want to check into these kind of things, be on the lookout, pay attention to what your children are doing on social media and who they are talking to. And really, I have a passion to hopefully get inside schools and talk to children, you know, about these same risk factors and same red flags, so that hopefully if somebody reaches out to a child, or a parent feels comfortable enough discussing these kind of things with their child, that we can prevent more victims, you know, or people becoming victims.
You talk about school becoming aware in schools. Do you think that because I know the answer here in Canada, do you think that the police or the judicial system or anything else should be made more aware of what's going on?
Absolutely, because that is one of the things that I really struggled with through this process, is because not enough law enforcement or court systems or anything really are aware enough about this to say, hey, this is like happening down the street from us. They're not trained, they don't have enough knowledge about it. And really, that's why I have such a passion for it now, is somehow just getting that word out and have other people get the word out. So hopefully, law enforcement and our court systems and parents and educators and just really everyone can be on the alert and be on the watch for these kind of things.
Do you have, I know you're on LinkedIn because that's how we met. Do you have this all on your LinkedIn page? Do you have another page that people can go to that you are spreading the word?
I don't at this time. I hope to, you know, get into doing that soon. Right now, I've just really kind of been sharing from my mom perspective on this, and different phone numbers and different organizations, especially here in Texas and where I'm at, on my Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook page. And then I, you know, if I run into someone who is having a hard time with a child that I think have risk factors, I will present this to them just so that they can hopefully, you know, if not talk to their child, have someone else talk to them, to just hope and pray that that's not what that is going on.
Okay, but they can, okay, but why did I say okay, but sorry. Okay, no, but you can be found on LinkedIn through Amber Graham, right? There's not
That
a,
is
okay, because yeah, because some people have other taglines or other names or actually they're cracking down on that. But I want to introduce everybody to, or ask everybody to go to Amber's LinkedIn profile or Instagram or Facebook and get involved. We have to get involved. And I don't get where we are in the world. We've got to get more involved in this. Now, police are stretched. I don't know about Texas, but they're stretched to maximum capacity right now. So, a murder took place versus your car got broken into, okay, versus this, okay? I think trafficking, they're really starting to crack down now, I think more than ever, because it's on the news all the time. It's on TV in plots, okay? Or not sitcoms, but, in regular TV. And one of the TV shows did talk about the branding of tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm not a parent, so I cannot say. But as much as you look at your children and try to watch your children and try to protect your children, if they're that slick that the child does not know that they're being trafficked, that's amazing to me.
Right. It's just very, very scary how easily they can, because they present it as, well, I can help you with this, or I will pay you for this, or I'll get you out of whatever situation that you might be in, or they present it as, they're in love with them, I'm your boyfriend, when
Yeah.
it's really not a boyfriend girlfriend relationship at all. And that's kind of how it started with my daughter. With some of them, it was, I'm in love with you and I'll take care of you, and that they gain their trust through that grooming, so that there is no way that they think that there's anything bad happening in that situation, because they've spent all this time gaining trust with them.
I'm sitting here and it's frightening to me. It's absolutely frightening. And I don't know if you remember when you were 13, because I remember when I was 13, I always said my parents didn't get brains until I was 21. Because at 13, things the parents don't know, and you're kind of cool, and they're uncool. And, and it probably happened when I was 13, but it wasn't out in the news.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like there's a lot of things that happened and it didn't get out in the news, and there wasn't okay. I started this whole thing because my biological mother was abused basically every Friday night when the wingnut came back into the town, okay, because he worked out of town. And she was physically and verbally abused every Friday night. There was no halfway house. She was 16 and he was 32 when she got pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Her parents disowned her. There was no place that this poor woman could go. Thank God I was adopted by people that really wanted to bring me up as their own, right? But this is why I'm doing this. And it's beyond me that they're that, I'm still stuck on they're that slick.
Right.
And they take somebody that's vulnerable, because they are vulnerable at 13, okay? 11, 17, and it's like, they love me, I'm going to do this, because they love
Mm-hmm.
me. Oh,
Right.
God, it sickens me. All right, well, I've had enough. I mean, enough of me saying what I have to say. Is there anything else you'd like to share? We have 9 minutes and 18 seconds left.
Oh goodness. Not a lot. I mean, we touched basically on the risk factors and the red flags and all those kind of things. It's just, if of children in your area that have a change in behavior or different things, check on them. Pay attention to all the risk factors and red flags that we talked about, and just really pay attention, and spread awareness. Don't think that it's not something that could happen in your city or town or state, because it's all over the place. It just, it's that easily. Social media is, everybody's on it, and that's why it's so easy for, you know, our young children to become victims. And it's not just females; males are being trafficked as well.
Oh,
So I mean,
yeah.
don't just pay attention to it maybe being a female, because there's young teenage boys that are being trafficked just as much as our young females are. So
Do you have, um, the advice you gave, do you talk to your daughter about this in length anymore? Is how, okay, how's your daughter doing
she's
now?
doing a lot better than she was. You know, she was, like I said, in and out of different treatment centers. She's been out for about a year now. Um, she still has triggers. Certain things will trigger her. She still suffers from nightmares and anxiety. And I don't know, she may always have some of that stuff. You know, it's just depending on what is said or something that she sees or hears, it'll trigger something, and it'll go, she'll call me and let me know, hey, I had nightmares last night. And sometimes she'll have them for a few days, you know, just because of something simple. But I know eventually she'll want to share her story. She's tried a couple of times here or there, but it's too hard for her right now to do that. But I was very proud of her recently because she, you know, had mentioned that she thought she saw something that was kind of a red flag to her, and she called the police at a non-emergency number to report it, for them to come out and check it out, whether it was trafficking or not. You know, her eyes, since she went through it, are open. So that's why I'm like, just, it can happen to anyone. And if you know some of the awareness out there, you can be on alert and you can pay attention, and you can share it with other people, and just, you know, talk to anybody about it, whether you have a child or not. Like, I'm sure you have young people somewhere, you know, that you could witness to and talk to and bring that awareness to them, or parents or grandparents. It doesn't matter.
On the ones, the one show that was talking about human trafficking, the one woman goes to motels,
Hmm.
and you know, unless you're under a rock, you know, people that go to a motel and they only spend an hour there. And she hands out flyers to the people that have visited the hotel for only an hour and said, you know, these people, maybe human trafficking is a big thing, and maybe you'd think like twice about it again or whatever. She has the stats. I don't remember what the stats are, but they're horrific and horrendous.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for joining me on A Woman's Story to
Thank you for having me.
get this message out there. And we have got to keep on going, because
Yes.
just having, you know, International Women's Day or International Men's Day, or it's Women's History Month or Men's History Month, that's it still needs to get out there all the time. So I so much thank you. And I'm going to tell you this, please, everybody that's looking at this, please visit Amber Graham's LinkedIn profile. And maybe she can help in the US because I'm Canadian. So, you know, it's North American right now, but it's happening all over the planet. And we've got to stop it. And the only way we can do this is just bring awareness, bring awareness, bring awareness. So thank you so much again, Amber. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
It was you as well.
Not
Thank you
the
so much.
actual subject,
Top.
but a pleasure talking to you and getting it out there, because this is
Yes.
my passion. Thanks again.
Thank
Take
you.
care.